And let's pan over. There's the YZ plane. So now I'm going to go to the plane tool. I'm going to use the offset from plane type. I'm going to select the YZ plane, and then I'm going to select this datum point. Now I can't select the datum point yet because this text is covering it up. So I'm going to hide this text. And now let's go to plane again. Offset from plane, select the YZ plane as reference, and then select the datum point. And now a new plane is going to be created parallel to the YZ passing through the datum point. We're going to select OK. And now I've created that plane, so I can now go into Sketcher. So I'm going to go to the Sketcher tool, and I'm going to select that plane. And now I want to rotate this around. And let's turn off our shading. Make it a little bit easier to see what we're doing. Now what I want to do is I want to create a couple of points on these two curves where my sketch plane intersects these two curves. To do that, I'm going to use a tool called, the top tool here is called Project 3D Elements. I want to hit the flyout, and I'm going to use Intersect 3D Elements. Now there's something you want to pay attention to now. This arc, or this curve, this smooth curve, consists of two separate arcs. Same way with this one. When I'm going to do an intersect 3D element, I don't want to select the graphics display area because the point may be on this curve and not this one. What happens is if I go over to the tree and I brush over smooth curve in the tree, you notice how the whole smooth curve lights up, whereas if I brush over it here, only a portion of it lights up. So when I'm going to do this, I'm going to come over to the tree and select smooth curve. And there's the point just created. Now let's go back and select Intersect 3D Elements again, and this time I'm going to select Parallel to, and a point's created. Now let's zoom in on this area. There's my 2 points here and here. And let's go to the Line tool, and I'm going to select, I want to make sure I get a bullseye there, meaning I'm on that point I just created. Same thing here. I want to make sure I get a bullseye. Then I need to create another line segment from this endpoint here, just up here somewhere. We're just going to click to put it anywhere. Now if we go to our reference sheet, we'll see that the angle that we want is 141.5 degrees. So let's go to the Constraint tool, and we'll select this line, and then this line, double click on it, and we'll put in 141.5. Hit Enter. Now I can grab the endpoint of this line and I can pull it up and down. And I want to make sure that it always stays above my datum plane. This is my datum plane. So I'm going to create a constraint between this point and the datum plane. And the value really doesn't matter as long as it keeps it above it. I'm going to use 5 millimeters. Alright, now the sketch is fully constrained, so let's go back into 3D now. And I'm going to hit Escape key a couple of times to deselect the sketch. And now what I want to do is I want to create a sweep surface. And this is the Surfaces toolbar here. Let me just circle that. And this is the toolbar that you use to create surfaces. And the one that we want specifically is right here, and that's called the Sweep Surface tool. So I'm going to select that. Now, something else to keep in mind, depending on the license that you have, you'll notice that there are 4 separate profile types here. Depending on your license, you may not have that. You may only have this one, the first one here, which is called the Explicit, and that's the one that we're going to use. So in the box here it says Profile. It needs me to select the profile. The profile is going to be the sketch we just created. The guide curve, I'm going to select the smooth curve as the guide curve. The surface I'm going to select for this is actually this plane that we created before. That's through the 3 points. And then the spline, I'm going to select the parallel curve. And we'll do a preview, and there it is. Now I had to experiment around with what to select here to get to the right get to the right result, get to the correct result. So you may have to play around with that a little bit yourself. Let's turn our shading back on now. And there's one bit of warning I want to give you. As I was experimenting around with the different ways to create the swept surface, I found that some of the ways that I did it would actually pull the surface off of the sketch that I was creating. And you want to go back in and double check and make sure that the sketch, or the surface, runs through the sketch that you've created, or else it's not going to be correct. Alright, let's rotate this around now. And let's move on to step 5.